The Voice was a unique experience. I would even use the term unparalleled experience for me. I've read many of the translations. I have many of them on my iPhone, which I use in my devotions, as well. But when I picked that book up, I began to read, and it just drew me through the text, through the story, as a magnet draws steel. I was so riveted, I couldn't put the thing down. And I can honestly say I've never had that experience with any other translation, although I've read from many, many of them, although I've never sat down and just read one straight through like I was compelled to do with The Voice. Because I was hearing the voices of the individual authors. For me, for the first time, hearing their personality. The Bible in the other translations sounded the same to me all the way through. But here I heard Matthew, and I heard Mark, and I heard a different voice and a different experience, and Luke, and then Paul and his passion. And that just intrigued me. So in the morning when I got up to have my quiet time, as I usually do, I would wake up and say, man, I'm gonna hear Paul this morning. I'm gonna talk to Paul. Paul's gonna talk to me. And that was exciting. I really, really enjoyed that. So I saw the reality, and I saw the person of Christ in a way I really believe that I hadn't seen him before. And that was just a neat experience from my point of view.
The scriptures are really best when we read them in large chunks. It doesn't serve us well to read small amounts of material, just a few verses here and there. And what we long for are for people to really enter into the story of God, to fully experience it. A book that was really important to me and influential was a book written by a guy named Sam Weinberg, who is a historian at Stanford. And he talks about the way that we failed in teaching history in the public school system in the U.S. because most students don't have a sense of history as a story. I mean, this history really is his story, God's story, our story together. And if you don't have a sense of story, the proposition and facts about history won't make much sense. We live in a day that people are highly illiterate when it comes to the Bible. And what we'd love to do is begin trying to take some shortcuts, teach them the facts about the Bible and the facts present in the Bible. But it's difficult to do that if people don't have a sense of the sweeping story of God from Genesis to Revelation to today. And so when we set out to do the translation work on The Voice, we want one of the slogans we have is that it would be the good book that reads like a good book. We want people to begin to read it and go, I was planning just to read a few verses, and I found that I read the whole chapter, and then I read another chapter, and I decided, you know what, I might be able to finish the entire book. And we're really pleased that this is what people are coming back to us saying. I'm reading more and more and more of the Bible. I get reports weekly from people that have read the entire New Testament in a very short period of time because they wanted to know what would happen next. That's what we long for, and so we pray that as people pick it up, that they read it, and that they read it well, that they read it aloud. We pray that when they gather in groups of people, that they use the script format of it so that they can read it interactively, that they can say, well, you play Jesus and you play Peter and you play Mary, and they begin to read those roles in a way that really draws out the story instead of one monotone reading for everybody. So we believe The Voice has some unique strengths, both in the translation and in the format, that we're really excited to share with the church.
With the screenplay format, you're able to picture the people who are speaking, rather than getting lost in the language of he said this and she said this. You're able to see it happen. It's delineated on the page for you. And so that presentation helps you, again, to get caught up in the story.